Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Can I Gold Everything series. In this video we'll be taking a look at the tracks from November of 2020. This will also be the first month where I give a rating to each track, comparing them to each other in the month, seeing who's the best, who's the worst, and what the average rating of the month was. Obviously I have my opinions and biases towards certain types of tracks, so obviously take my opinions with a grain of salt, form your own opinions on the tracks, and without further ado, let's jump into the tracks. The track for November 1st was Aobi by CDAWS. A pretty basic track here with a few drifts here and there, a nice little jump here at the start to get us started. But yeah, pretty basic track with pretty average scenery, so I ended up giving this one a 6.2, which is honestly a decent score. Ties us for 14th place this month. But yeah, just a pretty basic one. There's really not a ton to it. So just take the lines correctly and you should have this one golded no problem. It flows pretty well though, so no real issues with that. But nice little grass section there with the magnet, and then we're to the finish. The track for November 2nd was On the Edge by TTT 44,000. This one comes in at 8th place with a 6.8 rating. Another pretty basic one, but a little extra difficulty out of this one with a few more drifts here and there, but still a pretty basic track nonetheless. I just thought it was a little bit better, a little added extra difficulty to it. Made it a little better in my opinion. The last one was just a little bit too easy. But yeah, a pretty decent flowing track here again, and a good rating for it this month. Just yeah, a few drifts here and there, and then a big jump to the finish. Didn't quite get the risky on this one, but still plenty for gold. The track for November 3rd was Wadi by Flips. This one comes in at 17th place with a 5.8. which is pretty average this month, I'd say. Another basic track. I did feel like a couple turns were out of place, like example, that one right there. Came up really fast. It was a pretty awkward turn. Just felt a little out of place. But the rest, pretty basic here. Very easy track to get done. Obviously, I bonked on that one turn that I didn't really care for, and we're still going to get a gold here. A few jumps here and there. But really, there's not much else to say about this one. Easy golds, basic track, not much to it. The track of the day for November 4th was Riken by Rexdort, and it comes in at our 7th spot with a 7.1. This was a full speed track, and it was a decent full speed track. Maybe not the best you'll ever see. It was a pretty slow full speed compared to most. But there is one tiny section I didn't care for coming up right here with this grass piece. It felt like it really didn't fit well with the track, but that's really the only knock on it that I have. So pretty good rating here, obviously with the 7th best this month. I didn't think that piece was great either, but it worked fine for what it was. A bit of a speed check here, but luckily they were kind enough to have it be completable. One of the big problems this month on tracks was having speed checks that you couldn't cross, but there we go, there is the gold. The track for November 5th was Redwood NASCAR by Pretzel, our classic NASCAR maker. This one comes in with a 5.5 rated 18th. Most of the NASCAR tracks are going to be around 5 to 5.5. They're just pretty basic. This one maybe a little bit better because it's got the loop there with an interesting start, but it's just mainly a flat track. You take mainly full speed with maybe a drift here or there on it. But overall, they're pretty basic. I don't really care for them too much. Maybe some people like them, but they don't really give me much satisfaction. So they'll be rated at right about 5 for the most part. But this one is indeed a multi-lap like most of the NASCAR, so I'll let it play out. Enjoy the track. The track for November 6th was All Terrain Vengeance by Carlos 1542. Another very basic track, ends up with a 6.3, making it tied for 12th place this month. Beginning section pretty boring here, honestly. It's kind of just hold forward for 10 seconds. And we finally get to something more exciting with the loop, followed by a pretty rough drift, honestly. Didn't take it great, but still going to get the gold nonetheless. Then we're going to have a bit of a dirt section here. Pretty flat, which I don't really care for flat dirt too much. And then we're going to end up going downhill on the dirt, which was probably the most exciting part of the track. Then we'll follow that up with a little bit of grass here. And that will take us directly to the finish. So pretty basic, but still getting the 12th place this month. The track for November 7th was Midnight Metropolis by HTIMH. Very good track here, coming out at number 1 with an 8.2. Now this could have been maybe as high as a 9 even, but I had to knock it a couple points. One for the start, which was a speed check immediately. So some people, if they aren't good enough, might not even get the track started. And then a couple points off later on here through some of these really dark sections where it can be tricky to see where you need to turn and where the actual road is. But otherwise, a great flowing track here, heavy tech oriented, but I greatly enjoyed it. It had fantastic scenery, just good lines throughout. Like I said, flowed extremely well. So nice job by HTIMH getting the top rated track for this month. But I'll let the rest play out here. Enjoy the rest of the track. The track for November 8th was FRZ 77 Bridges by Freezy NHOTV. This could have been a really great track, but there is a huge problem with it at the end. But otherwise, I mean, it flowed decently well. I came around to liking it more and more as I played through the beginning section, but really, the end risky finish, which you basically need to get the gold on this, completely ruined the track for me, which gives it a 4.8 for the 24th rated track this month. It could have been so much higher though, but as you see, coming up very shortly, the risky finish is pretty random. You got to take that little grass section and hope you don't flip out of control with the boosters. It's just a pretty rough ending to this track, which lowered its scores significantly. The track for November 9th was Woodland Circuit by Metulu. Comes at 19th place with a 5.4. So, I mean, it's in a similar vein as the NASCAR tracks. It's pretty flat, not really much to it. At least it's got a couple dirt turns in there, but very basic and very simple track. So nobody should have much problems getting gold on this one, to be honest. There's a bit of a speed check there, which I did knock off a few points on it. If you're not very fast around the dirt turn, not going to be able to continue the track. But I don't think many people have a problem with that, so not too many points off for it. But then here, just drive straight to the finish. Very basic track, not much to it. The track for November 10th was The Jaunt by Nitty68, and it comes in with a 9th place finish with a 6.6. This is a full speed track, and the beginning section is pretty nice, but after a wall ride that comes up, the track gets pretty basic with very minute turns here and there. It's just a pretty straight shot towards the finish, so it gets pretty boring. I wish the scenery was a bit better as well. As you can see, there's like planets and stuff off in the distance, but as you're driving, you really can't see or care to see any of it. So a bit of a knock on it there, but it's an alright track. I feel like there could be a little bit better scenery, but it is what it is. 9th place for The Jaunt. The track for November 11th was Funnel by Ancient Pixel. This track comes in at 16th place with a 6.1 rating. It was an alright track. It's symmetrical. I didn't care for this beginning section right here. I never could really take that smooth, although I really didn't spend that many attempts trying to get this one. But it was a nice track with the symmetry and all. And on basically all symmetry tracks, you always see me going left. I don't know why. I just prefer turning to the left for some reason. And it's odd because you'd think it's because I was left-handed or something, but I'm not left-handed, so interesting factoid there. But just a big jump to the finish here. Pretty basic track. Really no problems with it. Pretty average rating. The track for November 12th was The Descent 2 by Rusher Ranger. Comes in at 22nd place with a pretty average rating of a 5.1. Just didn't feel like this track flowed very well. Just odd turns throughout, especially later on the dirt and I think grass sections. Yeah, just did not flow well in my opinion. So it's going to get a pretty average rating from me. Just didn't care for it at all. And then added to that is the time for the track. Gold is a 1.7. I don't care for longer tracks. So any track that's over like a minute is going to get probably dock points for me. Unless it's a very good track. So it is what it is. Average rating for The Descent 2. Enjoy the rest of the track. The track for November 13th was Uphill by Sushi Brought. It comes in with a little bit better than average rating, I'd say, with a 5.9, with a 16th place finish here. It's a mostly a flat dirt track, which really isn't my favorites, but this track was okay, I suppose. Some of the turns were a bit strange, like you would just get a major like speed boost coming out of it, so I don't know what the deal was there. I guess it's maybe like some type of bug slide or something. I'm not really sure, but it was strange nonetheless. But a pretty basic track. Didn't really care for it myself, so average rating for this one. The track for November 14th was Castle in the Sky by Evorius 96. This one comes in with a 5.0 rating, 23rd place. It's just overly long. A minute 43 for gold. That's like twice as long as a track I could care to even play. But if this track could be shortened like 30%, 40%, I feel like it could have been good, but it's just way too long. Including on the rating, which maybe I should have even went lower, is the end section. I don't know if it's the creator's fault or maybe it has to do with game bugs or something, but at the very end there's a giant boost section where a large majority of the time I did not get sent far enough to reach the finish. So it was a bit frustrating to go through like a minute 30 of the track and then just getting screwed on the last 10 seconds. Where it just completely relied on kind of luck, in my opinion, in order to get launched far enough to the finish in order to complete it. So it was rather frustrating to do this one. But managed to get it here after 14 minutes or so of playing it. Luckily gold messes up right there so you can get past it easily, but here comes the giant boost section, which half the time I feel like did not send me far enough to even get to the finish. It was really annoying. As you can see, we got this giant launch here. It takes like 13 seconds. So yeah, you can spend a minute 30 doing the track, but if you don't get launched far enough, you just wasted a minute 30 of your life. The track for November 15th was Slap Like Now by UBM. Felt like this was a pretty good track with the 10th place on this one with a 6.4 rating. I think this one flowed pretty well despite, how ugly it looks in recording, because it took me one attempt to do this. So I went and played it again just to see how smoothly it was, but it ended up being pretty good. My only knock on it really was early on there. We just passed it, a little bit of a speed check, which I made with pretty low speed, so it's not a horrible speed check, but still a speed check nonetheless, so didn't really care for it. But yeah, going back and playing it, it flowed pretty well with correct lines. So no docking of points despite how sloppy this original run was. So yeah, pretty good, decent track there with the 10th place. The track for November 16th was West by Averios 96. It comes in with a 2.5 with the 29th rank this month, so second to last. Walled in dirt, not my favorite type of track, but that is not the reason why it had such a huge point docking on this one. It's because a section coming up where you have to take a little piece on the side and launch over the edge and hope you get a decent enough landing to continue the run. Just absolutely terrible. Anytime I would take the other way, I would be like 8 seconds behind gold, so it was pretty bad. I had to look up a video on how to even complete this track because I did not know you could hit that piece and launch over the edge. I thought it was just something clipping through the wall, but nope, you have to take that piece, so pretty bad. The track for November 17th was Polaris by Elbarto 94. Pretty good tech track here, honestly. Hated it at first, but came around to liking it the more and more I played. Just a very smooth flowing track. It felt good every time you got a good drift. Just a very nice track. Does have a little bit of speed checks maybe here and there, but they're not terrible. I feel can't complete the track even if you don't take them the best, so not huge docking points there. And this one gets a 7.6, making it the 4th best track of the month. So a nice job there by Alberto. And I'll let the rest of the track play out here. The track for November 18th was Coaster World by Averios 96. Yet again, third track in 5 days for this creator. And again, not the greatest rating on this one. A pretty mediocre score of a 4.0, giving it 26th place. I just didn't care for this one. The coaster sections did not feel fantastic. They're magnetic and they're walled in. It feels like they were going for Trackmania Lagoon style stuff, but the car does not turn like it does in Lagoon, so not enjoyable at all. Then that jump right there, pretty big speed check. If you can't make that, you can't continue the rest of the track, so point docks for that. And the rest of the track is just what it is. It's not fantastic. It's not overly terrible, but not the most enjoyable experience, in my opinion. So it leaves it with the 4.0 and 26th rating. The track for November 19th was Texas Angel by Aobi, or Aobi W91. Not sure how to really pronounce that, but this one comes in with a 3.3 rating and 28th place. Unfortunately, this whole track is basically a speed check. Nearly every single jump you have to take is a speed check. So if you don't take near perfect routes on everything here, you're just completely screwed. You cannot play this track. I think I spent probably 45 minutes to an hour on this one. It was just a nightmare to complete. I didn't even have a completion, really, before getting this gold. I think I had one completion of that minute 15 that I got before this run. I spent actually 2 days on this track because first day I was just kind of sick of playing it. And then you got this big jump here, which a lot of times the booster didn't send you far enough. So pretty not great rating on this one. The track for November 20th was Versailles Palace NASCAR by Tatsune, and by the name you can kind of figure it is a fairly flat NASCAR track. Again, not my favorite, so it gets a 5.3 and the 20th position this month. Yeah, just basic flat track, really not a ton to it, so a pretty average rating for this one. At least it wasn't overly long, not a multi-lap, so it wasn't dragging on too long. But again, average rating for this one. Enjoy the rest of the track. The track for November 21st was Kaleidoscope by Mimic TM. pretty good track here with a 7.3 rating and a 5th place finish. This one could have been a little better in my opinion. Some speed checks really knocked off a lot of points on this, as well as being a little long, but honestly this was probably the best longer track I played in quite some time. But right here on these turns right here in this jump, that's a speed check. Maybe not that one so much, but then a speed check here and a speed check onto this dirt section. So if you're not fast enough on those, you can't continue the track. So points knocked off for that, as a less skilled player may not be able to make that, and the track becomes near unplayable for them. So minus points on that. But a pretty good longer track. Probably maybe the highest rated longer track you may ever see from me. It's just a very good one. But yeah, enjoy the rest of the track. The track for November 22nd is MTC at New World by Nova Terrorsh. Comes in with a 3.5 rating, which puts it at 27th place this month. Unfortunately, I have a huge negative bias towards these walled-in tracks. It's just very annoying to play. One bonk, your run's over. It really sucks. There's just not enough room for error on these types of tracks, so I just don't care for them at all. Like, if you bonk one time, you're done, so it really sucks. It's not like other tracks with wider room for error where, you know, your turn may be slightly off, but you're still continuing because you didn't hit anything. But on these, you hit the wall and you might as well restart. It just really sucks to do. Plus, it's a bit on the long side. Maybe not as long as it could possibly be, but my sweet spot for track length is probably like 40 to 45 seconds, so a bit long for me on this one, but really not terrible on the length. But just didn't care for this one at all. The track for November 23rd was Frozen Valley by Hank Isme. This one comes in tied at 12th place with a 6.3 rating. Although this one is a pretty basic track, I do believe it has more replay value than a lot, because a lot of the turns are pretty similar, and it makes me feel like grinding it a lot more to try to perfect those turns. So I gave it a little bit better rating than maybe it should have, because I did enjoy that aspect of it. But again, pretty basic track. Don't think many people have problems getting gold on this one. Just enjoyed it quite a bit. Enjoy the rest of the track. The track for November 24th was Blizzard by Nice. Comes in with a 1.1 rating and obviously the worst track this month. Near unplayable here, near impossible to get gold, but you have to do this trick right here where you go backwards onto that downwards booster, so you get an upwards booster, and then you got to fly into this little section here. Luckily I got a great bounce and was able to continue, otherwise that track was doomed. Just a nightmarish track to try to do. As you can see, I spent an hour on this, which I'm lucky it wasn't more than that, because it was quite a nightmare to do. This very long turn here was quite tricky as well. Very hard to keep consistent on that. Then you got an upwards booster here, and then you got to go on a ice wall right here, which was extremely difficult as well to try to do. But I feel like I got pretty lucky on this track and this attempt. But luckily we finally finished this one out. Just an absolute nightmare of a track. The track for November 25th was Daredevil by Votique55. Comes in tied at 14th place with a 6.2 rating. Maybe a little bit high, but I felt like this track was more unique than others with the use of magnets at a few locations, especially one coming up very soon here with this jump into a magnet wall ride. Don't really see that too often, or anymore, so I gave it a few bonus points for that. But really, the rest of the track isn't too special. A few magnetic uses here and there, but a pretty basic track after that overall. Magnet here, and then drive straight to the finish. So basic track, but a few bonus points for the magnet use. The track for November 26 was NASCAR Vegas Earthquake by our favorite NASCAR creator Pretzel yet again. 5.2 rating, 21st, another average NASCAR track. Just flat, very boring for me to do, but hey, if it's your cup of tea, it's your cup of tea. It's not mine. So if you enjoy NASCAR tracks, go ahead, keep playing them. But really not my thing. But yeah, obviously basic flats. Hard to give it above average rating for myself. I don't really knock it any points for being fairly boring. I just put it right in the middle. Because I don't really have a strong opinion either way on these types. So it is what it is. It is pretty long, so maybe some points off for that. But multi-lap NASCAR track, yet again. Enjoy the rest of the track. The track for November 27th was Interchange by A.K. Kanayu. A very short track, honestly. The first like 8 seconds is just driving straight, so this track might as well be like 22 seconds, 20 seconds. Very short. Honestly, I like very short tracks. It gives it a lot of replay value, in my opinion. I just love the shorter tracks, but maybe a bit biased towards them. But 7.2 rating for 6th place this month. Not bad. The track for November 28th was Riverside by Chris Day Sinclair. Gets a 7.8 rating, which gives it the 3rd best rating this month. Pretty nice track overall, great scenery, great vibes, just a great track overall. Maybe minus one section coming up right after we come out from behind this building. We have to do this little awkward wall ride here, which I don't really care for. But dust in the wind at that point. Maybe a little bit long for my liking on this track, but not terribly long, being a minute. But yeah, pretty decent track. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But that's really all I got to say about it. So enjoy the rest of the track. The track for November 29th was the Circuit de Monaco by B.E. Blade Runner. This one comes in at 25th place with a 4.3 rating. Very basic track, very slow, very boring in my opinion, and also very long. Not really sure if this is based on a real track or not, but it's similar vein to the NASCAR tracks, but honestly, it's much slower, much more boring in my opinion, so didn't really care for it at all. It's not a ton to it, really, and not much else to say about it, so enjoy the rest of the track. And for the last track of the month, on November 30th, we have Pretzel Precipice by DK Greatly enjoyed this track, obviously. It has the second best rating of this month with a 7.9. Just an overall very nice flowing, enjoyable track for me. Yeah, not a ton to say about it. Some good drifts here and there, some nice jumps, just intertwining roads. Just felt very nice to play. Yeah. That's it for this one. Enjoy the rest of the track. And that's going to do it for November of 2020. We have golded every single track in the month. The track average for this month was a 5.3 overall, with the best track being November 7th with an 8.2 rating, and the worst track overall November 24th with a 1.1 rating. Overall, there were 15 green tracks, 8 yellow tracks, 3 orange tracks, and 2 red tracks. So the overall rating of 5.3 may be a bit skewed by the lower tracks because there were 22 tracks yellow and above, so definitely above average month. But that's going to do it for November of 2020. I'm excited to see what December brings. Maybe we'll have some more ice tracks. Who knows? But that's going to be it for this rendition of the Can I Gold Everything series. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Check the description for links to my Twitch and Twitter. And be sure to check out all the other Trackmania videos I've done, especially the Can I Gold Everything videos from July through October. But yeah, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys next time.